Now, they say that whenever a good business finds private funding at a reasonable valuation, it should take it and not stress over dilution. This is because when you market your company to a clutch of wealthy investors, many times they dictate the price. However, in stock market listings, that is IPOs, the market dictates. It's the mood of thousands and lakhs of traders and investors that dictate. How plausible do they find your business, your story? IPOs can be a big marketing booster versus a disaster. Yes, everybody is very much aware that Zomato went through an IPO process to raise 9,000 odd crore rupees. You know that if by any chance this issue would have failed, how big of a marketing disaster it would have been. The brand per se would have taken a hit. The second order impact would have been down rounds from investors at subsequent fundraising. This intangible brand impact is huge. However, gladly the issue succeeded. It not only increased the valuation of the company, but it also had a lot of positive second order impact on the startup industry as a whole, typically to those who eventually want to go public and raise funds. Thus, the pricing of the issue has to be such that enough is left on the table for the public investors to entice them to subscribe to the issue. Then valuation in case of IPOs in India is usually of a pure play equity instrument rather than a complex CCPS, OCRPS, CCDs and all that. Funding rounds usually have all these exotic instruments. No doubt media highlights that some XYZ company came and raised funds at X amount of funds at 10x valuation leading to 10% dilution, but the fine print is much more than that. All private fundings come with riders like tag along, drag along, liquidity preference, preemptive rights, anti-dilution rights, etc. I don't know how you valuers value these instruments, as they seem to be of purely equity in nature, but with the kind of warranties and guarantees that they come with, they should be valued much more than usual equity of the company. In IPOs, all these things usually do not happen. Equity shares get listed and that's the end. In most cases, that's what happens. Valuation is of equity shares of the company. All previous issues of fancy exotic instruments usually get converted into equity before such IPO fundraising. Usually companies like to go public at a later stage of funding, not usually at a mature state, but at a later stage of the life cycle. You can be a company which is generating 20 to 30% CAGR, which is compounded annual growth rate of operating cash flow, which the companies like Asian Paints and Pidilite have been generating since decades, and they have been listed since decades. And usually these businesses and new age companies like to dream or think about IPOs only once their businesses have become viable. They may or may not be profitable, but businesses themselves should be self-sustaining. Profit is a byproduct which eventually should happen in the life cycle. So companies which having higher business predictability tend to take up the IPO route of funding, or they can give exit to the existing investors. Once you are listed in the public eye, your funding predictability goes down. Please note, stock markets do not, and let me repeat, do not like companies which want to go for frequent dilution. It is really fine for private companies and in fact healthy, as subsequent rounds of funding are viewed in a sense to increase the business pie. Thus, everyone's share in the business pie can increase. Once the funding cycle begins, a good private company can go through 8 to 10 rounds of funding easily before it achieves a unicorn status, and that investors are ready for that. But if the secondary markets get a whiff or a belief that the company may need to be recapitalized again and again and again, the stock prices typically cannot reflect an optimistic buoyancy. Thus, once you are in the market, your funding predictability falls. As a promoter or as an investor, you do not know if and at what time would you need funds, whether it is the next 2 years, 3 years, whatever, because whenever you need funds, the stock markets cannot be in a bearish phase. Stock markets should not be at a phase where there are no takers for your company. The company may actually end up either diluting much more than it ever intended, or may not raise the funds, fearing that such dilution, and thus the growth may hit a roadblock. This eventually makes me go to the point that once the company is listed, they need to make timely disclosures of a lot of things to the exchange. This is a regulatory requirement. Private companies can hush things up or manage their investors who may be more than willing to support them as their hard-earned huge amounts of money are at stake. However, stock market is a perception game. It's a pricing game and not a valuation game. It is not that forgiving, and thus companies get monitored on a daily basis by investors, prospective investors, news anchors and other market participants. One technical point which I wish to highlight here for fellow valuers is that usually when we tend to make spreadsheet calculations about valuations of the company, the post IPO valuation would take a discount rate which is much lower than the rate for the pre-IPO VC funding or private investor rounds. This is because for the lay investor, the biggest risk is the risk of illiquidity. This means that the investor investing in very profitable startups also, maybe like Zerodha or Zoho, they have no plan, even if they have no plans to list, at least as of now, because Zerodha's founder has been very clear that he does not want to list, and even Zoho's founder has been very clear. And I am aware that Zerodha is a bootstrapped startup, but let us assume that its employees are allowed to sell the shares to general public also now. The lay investor will not be able to sell his shares because there is no active market for such sale. In fact, the brokers for these unlisted shares can have bid-ask spreads of as high as 20 to 25%. Thus, the marketability of post-IPO shares is sufficiently high than pre-IPO shares, and accordingly discounting rate to arrive at valuation should be low, which can lead to high valuations than those arrived in funding rounds. Now we can move on to the fact that how do companies price their IPOs? For stock markets, bhav bhagwan chhe, price is God, but for us valuers, value bhagwan chhe. There is always a debate between value and price. Value is different from price. Pricing and valuation are two different domains. You cannot wear one hat, the valuer hat, and brag about the other, the pricing. Private companies going public do not value their companies, they price it. In fact, investment bankers handling their issue price it. For IPO pricing, typically a backworking is done. In case of issuance of shares by the company in IPO, answer to the following 4 key questions assist in IPO pricing. How much funds does a company need? How would it utilize such funds? Whether they would be utilized to pay off the debt or would be utilized towards business workings or expansion or some other reasons. How much would the promoter or entrepreneur be comfortable in diluting? Lastly, how are the market conditions at the time of issuance of IPOs, whether they are bullish or bearish? Investment bankers strive to find answers and with these constraints try to arrive at the best possible price at which the issue would list. They do not want their name and image to be tarnished, but they want to make the promoter happy also, as he requires the funds through the IPO. They market the issue before the big and small investors through road shows and other marketing material. In India, they are called the book running lead managers in the RHP, which is the Red Herring Prospectus document. Thus, the BRLMs, book running lead managers, usually want the issue to be priced at a discount to the market appetite for the issue. They believe that the stock can list at a market of rupees 100, then they would want to price the IPO at 85 to 87 or so that there is sufficient margin of safety for the issue to be a success. Further, the underwriters to the issue, who are like insurers to the issue, want the issue to sail through instead of being caught subscribing to the issue, which eventually lists at a discount. They want to keep the underwriting commission and not get their monies involved. Thus, this is how typically issues get priced. They get priced at a discount to the perceived market appetite to the issue. Valuation has got no, and let me repeat, and please let me repeat this, no role here. Market dictates. But this is the hard fact. Because if we would have valued Zomato based on traditional or even modern valuation metrics, a money-losing company which is giving a ray of hope to turn profitable and be generating free cash flow in future, when that will happen, how much that will happen is uncertain. But this ray of hope, can the investment bankers value the company? Okay, can they value the company at 60% of the issue price? Exactly, they did not. They priced the company at 76 and they got great response.